stream is happening. For those of you who do not know, I have a VODs channel. So if you want to watch this whole thing because you couldn't make it now, I'm there. I'll answer your questions in the comments. It'll be great. I might just when I upload them, I might do a premiere of that video so you can also comment live. So that might be a fun little thing. It only works once, but who knows? And then while I do this, I have to make sure I'm being efficient with my time. Should be good. Okay. Okay. Do we have anybody jumping in? It's all right. It's okay. You're all going to watch this later. So what we've got for you is we have Pocket Leaves. I was requested to take a look at the Black Butler lore, and Pocket Leaves does a great job breaking that down. I asked him if I was okay to react to this, so I'm going to try and give my reaction. I'm a little rusty. It's been 5 weeks since I said I would do this. I can't believe it. I'm very good at keeping my promises, guys. So without further ado, here we are. Copyright music. Jeez, just wigged out on me.
Are very familiar with Black Butler, be it the anime or the manga, but how exactly did this whole thing get started?
How did it get started? This is a very important question that we almost ask. How did this get started? The only thing I need to do is see if I can turn up the volume.
The Black Butler manga started publication in the magazine G Fantasy back in September of 2006.
2006? Huh. I always thought it was a lot younger than that.
It's said that the series was originally supposed to just be a few chapters. However, it was surprisingly popular, and Yana Taboso was given clearance to take the story even further. And that
Nice. Nice, Yana Tabosa. Yana Tabosa deserves better. I don't think are there any pictures of Yana Tabosa? Because I looked up pictures of her, and there's just that little art character. But also Yana has has one other. I mean, there's probably more than one, but one other notable IP that I have to take a look at. I don't remember the name of it, but I do have to.
That's how we've got the Jack the Ripper arc, which ended up being pretty well liked, allowing for the
Actually, the Jack the Ripper arc wasn't even was it an arc? I suppose because I'm going off of the season 1, and season 1 didn't have a whole lot of Jack. I don't think season 1 was Jack the Ripper, right? I thought that season 1 was just different. What, like Jack the Ripper was like only 6 episodes, that whole arc. Maybe the arc itself is just short.
Series to be greenlit for a longer publication. In 2009, Black Butler was among the top 10 best-selling manga series for the year. Full transparency, it was number 10, but that's still top 10, and
It is top 10. That's the thing. Whenever whenever you put, like, you have a tier list of anything, it's like, all right, in my top 10 favorite shows of all time, number 10, Hunter x Hunter. Then everybody gets mad at you. Like, what are you talking about? I've watched over 100 shows, and this is top 10. It's just number 10.
honestly pretty cool. So it's safe to say that the series was a massive hit back in the day. However, when looking
Oh, did you know that, like, Ghost Stories was a massive hit when it came out? Like, everybody was talking about how, or what I knew about the English dub of Ghost Stories is the fact that it was so horribly received that the English dub could do whatever they wanted with it. But that's not accurate. It was more popular than Pokemon when it came out in Japan. So, sussy.
at some more current numbers, it appears that the series is still doing surprisingly well.
It is doing well because of my channel. Also your channel. Also Pocket Leaves channel. But, mostly you don't do just Black Butler. I appreciate so many people who do, like, long form stuff like this. I don't want to do that. I don't, like, I've wanted to do a video like Nobody Understands show. Mostly just Oron. I want to talk about Oron because Oron is just so underappreciated. And I want to do that, but, like, to sit down and to write that script is so much. So I just want to say I have a lot of appreciation for you if you ever watch this. I know I asked you like 2 months ago if I could react to this. Probably checked my channel every day for 2 months, and there's like nothing. And so the day that this comes out is going to be like, nah, there's no way. No, I gave up.
In 2020, we saw the release of Volume 30, which outsold Demon Slayer's Volume 22 that came out around the same.
We're on volume 30. What? Oh, wait, no, volume 30 was 2020.
time. Honestly, that's kind of a big deal considering how amazingly popular.
Yeah, Demon Slayer is crazy popular, especially then. Guys, did you hear about the ending of My Hero? I vaguely understand what happens. I didn't read it. I have not been following My Hero at all. But I've heard that that was not well received.
Popular Demon Slayer is. When Volume 31 was released, it
Who's that? She's got an axe. That's cool. I want that character.
placed 10th on the top
Tokyo Revengers. I remember that being huge just like for a month. And then everybody forgot about it. Jujutsu Kaisen, that's number one now. My Hero, yeah, like those top three, absolutely. March Comes In Like a Lion. I didn't know that was still going on. Detective Conan is massive. Blue Lock is massive. Black Butler, number 10. That's crazy because, like, I remember, especially like if I'm thinking about the end of 2021, like for me, it was like nobody cared about Black Butler much anymore. And that's not, like, in it. What I mean by that is Black Butler didn't have anything new since Book of Circus. And then there was just huge period of nothing. And then there was Book of Atlantic. And then nothing. So, like, people just stopped talking about it. And the fact that the manga was still number 10 is crazy.
top selling manga
I should probably learn how to do some impressions of Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero if I want to stay relevant, though. I'm just saying.
in October of 2021, and when Volume 32 was released, it was the top selling manga of the week. That's all.
Jiminy Christmas, heavens to Betsy, is it loud outside?
All really cool. All
What is that on your Yeti?
this to say,
I just noticed a shiny, a colorful shiny.
the manga has been and still is widely popular, which is pretty cool to see. Unexpected, even considering how little it's talked about compared to series that it has outsold in recent years. So, what is it about the
Also, this is absolutely nothing on what am I trying to say? This is absolutely completely off topic. I appreciate that you are talking into the side of a side address microphone. I cannot tell you how many professionals buy microphones that are side address. I don't own any side address microphones anymore. I really only have this, and I have a couple of like instrument microphones. I can find one. I can find one. Ahem. You a spew tube. Oh, Konami. I thought that said Konami, and I was like, I'm sorry. What? What PRS? You did what now? I don't need playlists. What am I talking about? I need videos. And I need one of the characters. I mean, I. Such a stupid video. But anyway, here you go. Side address microphone. This, you talk into this end of it, not this end. This end. Anyway, sorry. That's just like a minor pet peeve that I have, and I want to just tell you, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for this.
manga that has continued to
What are we talking about? You have ADHD. That's cool.
captivate readers for 17 years. To answer that question and
17 years. People who read this, who were born when this came out, can drink. They're all legal now.
many others that I'm sure will arise, I'm going to be taking a look
It's like kids who are on Twitter and you're like, all right, fetus, you're born in 2021? And then they'll be like, actually, I was born in 2016. I'm 8 years old. And then you just kind of throw up. Actually throw
at
up.
each story arc within Black Butler and pretending like
I'm very good at reactions. I just stop things and start talking about random other stuff.
I'm in literature class or something. But since the manga is still ongoing and I don't want to make a really super long, big video, we're going to be breaking it up.
Based. I mean, I love me some long videos, but content.
But we're going to be taking it one arc at a time. And today, we go all the way back to our humble beginnings. And we're
Our
going to
humble
take a
beginnings. Let's
deep
go.
look
Take me there.
at the first introduction of the Phantomized household and the daily happenings of our demon butler.
The butler, just based. Skibbity toilet. I'm broken. Please send help.
The first initial story arc, dubbed the Black Butler arc, sets the scene for Sebastian's current
Thank you.
day-to-day life. Chapter 1 starts us off with a standalone story about a day in the
Yo, Boca, that was some fancy shots.
life of Sebastian, our surprisingly capable butler. It starts us off with Sebastian getting Ciel ready for the day, then transitions to Sebastian facing off against an unnamed martial artist.
So do we not know that Sebastian is a demon butler until later on? Because that was like the first part of the first episode.
A battle that Ciel had set up as a bet, hoping Sebastian would lose. However, Sebastian wins, and Ciel then has to go on with what was planned for the day. We then see that Ciel is expecting a guest, and suspiciously lets Sebastian know that they'll be speaking business.
So what is business is code? Business is code. Business is code for kill them or bake them into a pie.
So it's up to Sebastian to make sure they entertain the guest perfectly. We're then introduced to the main comedic tone of Black Butler, things going so over the top, horribly wrong by mistake, and it's up to Sebastian to fix everything. Naturally, he does, and we're treated to a bit of info dump about Japanese culture, an intense serving scene, and a kick-ass magic trick. It's a
Magic trick.
classic story of a man who is incredibly good at his
Fair warning, I might lose electricity here.
job, surrounded by people who are laughably bad at their own jobs, causing our main
They're just like me, for real, for real.
guy here a lot of headache and extra work to make sure that things go smoothly and according to plan. However, Sebastian is built different in the sense that
And in 2021, that was the thing to say. I'm not making fun of you. I'm not making fun of you, I swear.
he somehow manages to do the impossible in order to combat the incompetence of his coworkers. We don't currently know
I do love that Mei Rin is just constantly breaking things, and Bardroy is constantly setting things on fire, and Finney is yucking things at the house, bringing things into the house that are breaking things, and somehow Sebastian is still on top of everything. That's the weird thing about some of these I want to say like darker shows and stuff like that. At least with Hellsing, which I want to do deep dive of Hellsing. Is the comedy, the balance of comedy to like the darker tones of it is a weird thing. Like it's a weird balance. Sometimes it works. I think Black Butler does it well. I think Hellsing, at least Hellsing Ultimate, had like it was a little weird.
within this first chapter that Sebastian is a demon, so bear with me.
I'm sorry.
Within this first chapter that Sebastian is a demon, so possible in order to combat the incompetence of his coworkers. We don't currently know
There we go. That's the answer to the question I had earlier.
within this first chapter that Sebastian is a demon, so bear with me. This man is out here doing inhuman levels of impossible. It's also important to note that in the first chapter, it's never stated that Sebastian is anything other than human. So it's almost like the Butler version of Sakamoto Desuka, which is a series about a high school boy who is so perfect at everything he does for no reason, really. He's just a Gary Stew. This first chapter mostly
He's a Gary Stew. Yes, that's how you explain Sebastian. Although it is true, if he wasn't, it would be the Black Butler would not be nearly as interesting or as fun, because he would just be like, oh great, we have just this guy who's good at everything,
serves as an introduction to the
which I guess that doesn't change much, but I don't know, like there is that balance between what is overpowered and what is what's overpowered in a setting that doesn't really matter, and overpowered in in settings that do matter. So when it comes to like the main plot points of the story, Sebastian really isn't overpowered, or he's taken out of the situation and then brought back later, like Superman would be in the Justice League, or like Goku would be. But in like smaller things that don't make sense, you just want to show off. That's kind of the balance that's important. So when you get like a show or a story or a movie or a series of movies where the characters are just good at everything in every scenario, even in the thick plot points, that's where it's just like, okay, well, great, now there's just no stakes. But when Sebastian is removed, or he has to fight someone of equal strength, and the Stress is still there. Take lessons, Disney.
Poor main characters and their dynamics from an outsider's perspective. We don't see much of CL, but we do see the way that he delights in making Sebastian's life harder than it needs to be, shown in little interactions like the way he dumps the
It's so good. That's one of the best parts about Black Butler, is that while the three other words are just not happening today for me. They're whatever you would call them. Like the stewards, the butlers, the help. Bardroy, Mayrin, and Finney. All of them aren't trying to be horrible. CL, who is capable, is also the one who's just like, I'm going to intentionally piss you off. It's just one of the best parts of that show. It is that dynamic, and then Sebastian just being too good at stuff.
Limit.
You ever notice how like people don't just okay, 1, 2 normal people, 1 thing, 2 thing, 3 thing, guys, 1 thing, 2 thing, 1 thing, 2 thing, 2. Gotta be weird about it.
That he didn't like onto Sebastian, and the way he goes out of his way to find people who may be able to beat
That book is backwards.
Sebastian in a fight. And we also see that CL is a force to reckon with, shown by the overly sinister way he's conversing with Klaus. It's also interesting that it's often pointed out how CL is just a kid, and he plays into it in this first chapter. I assume as a way to manipulate Klaus, because we do see later on that CL doesn't...
Yeah, the CL hates being called a kid because, I mean, depending on your definition, he's taking on so many adult responsibilities that, you know, he's not a kid. He's not being allowed to be a kid. But every once in a while, he refers to himself as a kid, and that is through manipulative... It's always for some sort of manipulative reason.
Particularly like being treated like a kid.
And then that's when Sebastian just, like, digs in and is like, yes, you are a child. Yes, dear little child. Anytime they're undercover.
Despite him literally being 12 in these first few chapters. Mayrin is set up as a ditzy maid who's often flustered by Sebastian's
older than average COPiX viewer.
presence. And while we see elements of this sprinkled here and there in the manga, it's really played up at the start and in season 1 of the anime. It's not really a big thing or a big part of her character that seems to be reoccurring, and if it is, it doesn't really fit in the tone of the manga as it continues. So it's one of those little character traits that doesn't really go anywhere, which is fine. It's not a character trait that I'm particularly fond of, so of all the ones to go, I'm glad it's that one. Finian doesn't make too...
What if I told you I only paid attention to most of that, but not the beginning of the sentence of the idea?
Like the way he dumps out of his way to find force to reckon with. It's often pointed out how CL is just a kid, and he plays into it in this first chapter. I assume as a way to manipulate Klaus, because we do see later on that CL doesn't particularly like being treated like a kid, despite him literally being 12 in these first few chapters. Mayrin is set up as a ditzy maid who's often flustered by Sebastian's presence, and while we see elements of this sprinkled here and there in the manga, it's really played up at the start and in season 1 of the anime. It's not really a big thing or a big part of her character.
I was gonna say it's a big part of her character to be ditzy and in love with Sebastian every time that she shows up. I can't really speak for too much more because other than season 1, the help really takes a back seat.
Character that seems to be reoccurring, and if it is, it doesn't really fit in the tone of the manga as it continues. So it's one of those little character traits that doesn't really go anywhere, which is fine. It's not a character trait that I'm particularly fond of, so of all the ones to go, I'm glad it's that one. Finian doesn't make too much of an impression at the start, however, it's established that he's overly enthusiastic to a fault, and doesn't pay too much attention to what he's doing.
Boy, do we all know somebody like that. But especially somebody that you work with who's just like, maybe not just overly enthusiastic, but just is not, mind is elsewhere, and then just kills, that just destroys stuff, does a terrible job. You have to go back and do their job, even if they mean well.
Causing major screw-ups like killing off the entire garden by mistake with weed killer. He's eager to help, but he gets a bit carried away.
Oh, we gotta protect him. He's so good. I love Finny so much.
Bardry is set up,
And he has such a tragic backstory. I mean, it's not super, super tragic, but it's dark for sure. No, I'd say it's tragic. It is tragic. There are more tragic in the world, and probably even in this series, but it's still tragic.
as an interesting fellow. The guy who plays the straight man of the group, wrangling Finny and Mayren back to their senses while Sebastian is away. However, this is the same man who also thinks it's a good idea to cook with a blowtorch when any good chef knows that cooking fast isn't actually a good idea.
Yes, true. I'd call it a flamethrower. Because a torch does not do it justice. He has a backpack of, like, just of gas and a giant flamethrower. Geneva Convention, more like Geneva Suggestion.
Meat works better when you cook it slower, generally. In
So
my
true.
very limited understanding of the science of cooking, but
Let me tell you, as a culinary genius, that there's one person who's going to hate the fact that I said that, and that is for you, and you won't even watch it. Pink is the way to go.
you know, Bard does what he's gotta do, I guess. He really is serving the duality of man. Last but not
Such a... You sure do be doing that.
least, we have Tanaka, who mostly just seems
Tanaka's so adorable. I love Tanaka. He's there to bring lore information. Lore information. And then just be adorable and go, oh.
to be moral support at this time, at least to me as a reader, since I'm not entirely sure what a house steward is supposed to do. We just see Tanaka living his best.
So the house steward is supposed to be in charge of the house while the master is away. They are in charge of the rule, like they make the rules. They keep everyone on task, keep everything up and clean for when the master comes back. So they would be second in command. Sebastian would not be second in command, theoretically. He is, because of the amount of trust that he puts in Sebastian, but Sebastian's not... Calling him a butler is not quite accurate, because he is, but he's also a bodyguard. So, and Sebastian wears a lot more hats than just butler. So that is a little bit fun. But I suppose you could say, and I think is more accurate, is that Tanaka is the steward, second in command, as a figurehead position, which I think was actually established, is that he is the face of the company, as opposed to Sebastian and CL, who seem to be in charge, like they are in charge behind the scenes. CL's in charge behind the scenes anyway. But Sebastian, he not. But I think Tanaka has been the face of Funtum Corp for a while.
Life, and honestly, good for him. In these earlier chapters and season 1 of the anime, Tanaka is a comedic relief character who's really just there to juxtapose the over-the-top nature of the other characters,
He's so adorable. He's just in there in the background having the best time ever.
which is probably why he's often drawn in an overly simplistic, almost chibi in nature style. Honestly,
And then he just poof, and it's just this almost the most detailed character in the entire show every once in a while.
outside of the tablecloth scene, Chapter 1 is not that memorable compared to the rest of the manga, but it does lay the foundation that the characters are built on top of, and that in and of itself is why I have spent this long talking about just the first chapter. Anyway, let's move on to the rest of this initial arc.
Skilled, very skilled, very, very. Oh, okay. No, I thought it was gonna be very, very skilled, and then very, very, very skilled.
Chapter 2 is when we're introduced to Ciel's insecurities.
Undertale music. I have to finish that game. I have to finish it.
Woo, he's just like us. Short Kings unite.
Short Kings Unite is so true. So,
But also, he's like a kid in an adult world, so he's got a lot to be insecure about. We're also introduced to Finian's inhuman super strength.
I kind of. I feel that. I feel that deep down.
Which is honestly just kind of mentioned because he broke Ciel's cane and also a tree. Because those two things are definitely similar.
They are so. Well, what it does is it shows that he is clumsy, but also very strong. So you've got like the little stick, you've got the big tree, and how they were broken with the same amount of effort. So I'll just show you the range. Like if a twig and a tree are just as strong or just as easy to break.
Chapter 2 also introduces us.
Where's the MatPat theory on how strong Fiddy is? We need to find this out ASAP.
To the delightful Lady Elizabeth, Lizzie for short. She's such a ray of sunshine, and I will also refrain from harping on her annoying factor because she's like 13.
That's fair. That is really fair. In the show, her annoying factor is that her voice is really shrill. But they do such a good job in Book of Atlantic of giving her like an actual backstory and how she knows a lot about what Ciel's gone through, because they're not only cousins but also engaged. Sorry, I had to take a pause because I said that a little too nonchalantly. But she really knows and cares about him and knows a lot of what he went through. So she's putting on this act for her own insecurity for being like really good with the sword and stuff like that, but also to be the ray of sunshine. It's almost kind of like the best thing I can equate this to is when Jacksepticeye stopped being when he kind of decided that he didn't want to be the super loud, obnoxious guy on YouTube. And it's like, I'm happy that he's more happy doing that and not being fake. But at the same time, at one point in my life, it was, it's like I really needed that energy, because when life is just a drag and you've got someone who's just got so much energy and happiness, it is contagious. So Lizzie has this abundance of contagious joy, which is it's just good. It's good writing. It really is.
Being annoying is just a symptom of that age. Sorry to any 13-year-olds who might be here
It's so true. You're annoying.
right now. I was 13 once.
Not you. Not you, Pocket Leaves. We love you. You watching this video right now. You're probably 13. I actually think that I just said 12. I think 12 is in my bio for everything. 12-year-old.
I also feel like it's important to mention that Black Butler, despite the demographics of the fan base, is published in a shonen magazine, meaning the amount.
Ooh, shonen is for boys, which is strange considering the. Actually, wait, no. What are my analytics? I will tell you right now. I think my analytics were incredibly whammon based, but now that's not true anymore. Well, okay, no, it's true on my main channel. Is it? It might not be. Because I know on this channel, on the COPiX second channel, it is it's pretty good split audience. It's in the last 28 days. It has been 100% female and 100% 13 to 17. All right, switch account. Switch account to. Hold up. I think I just messed something up. Switch account to. I love two-factor authentication. Ooh, second channel. Boys have it. 70-30, baby. It was a lot closer to 50-50, actually, believe it or not. Let me turn this off. It's buzzing at me. Anyway, that was unimportant.
Imagined demographic for this manga was teen boys. So it makes sense in that fun misogynistic way that Lizzie would be introduced in such a frustrating manner. However, if we want to give this series and Yana to
I don't think I agree with that. That it would be a I don't think is misogynistic per se. You could say that she is, but also 1800s. But like again, she's just trying. I mean, she's introduced this way. So to be fair, we're not going to take what we do know. We're going to take how she's introduced. I don't agree that it was super misogynistic, but maybe my eyes just aren't open because I don't think that Yana Tabosa being a female really. I don't think that matters. Anyway.
also the benefit of the doubt, maybe she was going for more of a kid sister vibe because, again, kids also just come off as annoying to someone when they're playing around or not understanding complex emotions, which is most of the reason Lizzie comes off as annoying.
Yeah. So it's absolutely just the second one. I think I think my knowing what we know now is that Lizzie is I think to build off of that, yeah. not understanding super complex emotions, being a 12, 13-year-old, but also using it to mask emotions as well.
I mean, the English dub doesn't help because
Really doesn't help. Really doesn't help.
the voice actress goes for a very high-pitched voice. But honestly, that's a problem with anime in general.
True. Spitting facts.
So I can't really fault anyone there. And the other reason I think a lot of people dislike Lizzie is because she gets in the way of their yaoi sabasiel ships, and
True. That's what happened because there's no what was it, Deku, and I don't know any of their names. I'm sorry, I don't. But just getting in the, it's always the females getting in the way of the yaoi ships. Ugh, we should get rid of them all.
honestly, that's just internalized misogyny on the fandom's part.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but I also won't disagree.
No, I will not elaborate.
No, you won't. That's true. That's fair. That's fair. Probably not in this video. How did Black Butler start? 10 minutes into it, talking about how Black Butler starts. The other 37 minutes is just talking about how you're misogynistic. That's probably a good call. That's a good call.
We're gonna move on.
That's
Anyway,
good.
chapter 2 is another standalone story about Lizzie coming and turning things upside down. Ciel and Sebastian come home from running errands only to find that Lizzie has come.
I remember hating that part, but because I could empathize with Ciel, being the boy, and how if I came home to my epic mansion and it was all pink and decorated, how I would hate it. Especially if I knew who did it. If it was some hooligan scandalous prankster, I'd be like, oh, who done it? I can't believe this. You'd set, guard and have Mayrin with a sniper to take them out. But when it's your own cousin, betrothed, yeah, it's not as easy either to lash out.
Come over and started redecorating and playing around with the servants.
Which is kind of a weird. I feel like that this would have been a good spot, and I think it. I don't remember if he does. He does in the show. He does anyway. Manga, I don't know, obviously. Where Ciel, you see the 13-year-old in Ciel, because up until that point you had been seeing like maniacal adult. You've been seeing like a maniacal child with the powers of an adult, with the chess game, and that's the kind of thing that like most adults wouldn't do, but also not have the access to do. But then you really see him just kind of like lash out in the "you made my house pink and I hate it."
She then decides to have a dance party with Ciel. This is also when we learn that Ciel is engaged in an arranged marriage kind of way, but it's also
entirely arranged to the cousin.
revealed that her mom is Ciel's aunt, making them first cousins. It was a different time in the late 1800s, that's for sure.
It sure was. And I'm so glad that nobody marries their first cousins anymore. Literally no one. I can't even think of a single place where that's even legal, especially not in the United States.
Sure, different time. We also see that Ciel doesn't know how to dance. Sebastian states that Ciel is a wallflower at events they have attended in the past. And
Yes. He insults him in the politest way possible. I love that.
and that offers to teach Ciel how to dance.
You're a social wallflower. And if you cannot learn how to dance, well, what kind of Earl would you be?
So that they can appease Lizzie. As always, Sebastian is perfectly capable of doing whatever he sets his mind to. However, it's mentioned that Sebastian had visited the... I'm so sorry, I don't
Schönbrunn Palace.
know languages, but the Schornburn Palace?
There's no R. There's no second R. There's only the Schönbrunn. Schönbrunn. It's got the little accent. Is that no? Tilde is the squiggly one. I don't know what the two is because I only ever took Spanish. But it's like a ho. So instead of like shown, it'd be like Schönbrunn.
Many times in the past. At this point in the manga, we still don't know what's up with Sebastian, and to be honest, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a hint of some kind, but it felt unusual for a butler to frequent the palace, so I think it's worth mentioning.
Ooh, that's interesting. And that's what I really appreciate about this video is you're getting the, I assume that you've gone through the manga before the show, because the show lets you know, like, off rip. But, like, to slowly realize that things aren't really adding up is, there's something more here. And then to take it to Demon is pretty interesting. Now, the only thing I'm a little bit curious on, I know that it's a whole contract basis thing, so the idea is like a Faustian, idea of demons. But I'm curious if it has more of the idea to more reminiscent to the Japanese understanding of where they're more like just spirits, evil. Well, because it's different culturally than the Judeo-Christian idea of demons,
As a clue that there's more to Sebastian than meets the eye. Ciel's character gets expanded upon in Chapter 2. We learn not only that is he insecure about his height and age, but he's also depressed. Or maybe suffering some sort of trauma.
Oh, did we not know about the trauma yet? Oh, boy. We don't know about the trauma yet. Oh, okay. Man. The manga is the way to go with this show. Like, I'm not a huge reader, even if it is a manga graphic novel, but like, wow, that is the optimal way to appreciate this show.
It's only
or
chapter
this piece of media, I should say, this IP.
2. We're not getting that deep into it yet. Sebastian states that he has a gloomy nature, which prompts one of Ciel's most well-known Hot Topic-esque quotes. I've long since forgotten how to smile joyfully. Okay.
Yo, he's just like me.
Cool. So our main character is Emo. He's just like me for real.
Just like me. Why couldn't he have been a girl? Why couldn't he be a thick emo girl, not a boy?
At this point,
I'm just imagining my roommates hearing me say all this unprompted. Okay.
we don't know Ciel's past. All we know is that his parents are dead, since Sebastian did mention the previous head of Phantom Hive household was deceased, and we're left to assume that his mother is also dead, or at the very least not in the picture at the current time. During this scene, we also get a close-up of the family ring, the iconic sapphire set in silver.
Whoa!
Due to the framing, it's basically implied that the ring has something to do with why Ciel feels the way that he does. Is it the weight of becoming the head of Phantom Hive at such a young age? The untold trauma of how his father died? Something else, maybe? Either way.
I mean, it is the status symbol. It is the symbol of being the head of the household. The household has that, which means that it would be all three, I'm sure. Well, two things. I don't think it has any other significant. I know that in the show it was like, this is a very rare diamond that's corruptible, blah blah blah.
Wait, the
I don't
ring
know
is
if that's true
related
or
to
not
why
though.
he's chronically
If that's accurate.
gloomy. We also see that the ring is incredibly important to him when he and Lizzie get into a fight over
Oh yeah, that's why. And then Lizzie breaks it, and then it gets fixed magically. I don't remember how it got. I think it just appeared. And I don't remember that ever being resolved.
it. It clashes with the vibes that she has carefully crafted for the evening, but Ciel doesn't want to take it off, and even gets angry when Lizzie takes it from him, causing her to have a bit of a meltdown, throwing the ring on the ground and breaking it. Honestly, this can go to show just how strong and badass Lizzie is, because she did that.
She did. Do you mean like in a personality way or in like a physical way or both? Because that is a very, I mean, metal has like that is gonna have a high tension strength, tension strength, tensile. Its ability to bend. It's not gonna just like shatter. Especially not like the floor would shatter first. We're not here to get that deep though.
It's supposed to be a ring made of metal. I know it's old, but it's also silver. It's still okay, wait. I don't know if silver is supposed to be fragile, but
No. And even if it was like it's not brittle. It has it's bendable. That's its thing.
it's still like I feel like it would take a lot of force to shatter the ring like that.
It wouldn't. Is there? That's just an oversight because, well, it's not an oversight. It's just one of those things where it's like, well, you can't. It's the perfect thing to accomplish what needs to be accomplished. The only thing is, you just don't break it like that. The gem could have been broken, probably. It's not the silver.
So honestly, Lizzie, pop-off queen. She could decimate anyone if she wanted to.
She could, and she does.
We then see Ciel about to commit an act of domestic violence before
It's not domestic violence in the 1800s. That's called normal.
Sebastian steps in, bringing him back to his senses. We can't have a sympathetic main character who abuses his fiancée now.
True. Based in real.
Honestly though, these guys are just kids, and that was such a sibling-coded interaction. At least that's how I read it, knowing that Ciel and Lizzie grew up together, and knowing how siblings have that special ability to really get under your skin and push buttons.
So true. You also have siblings. Smash like if you have siblings who get under your skin.
Sebastian diffuses the situation by explaining to Lizzie why that ring was so important and why Ciel became so upset. Lizzie feels bad, and Ciel throws the ring out the window in an act of pretending to be strong. He and Lizzie then make up
True.
and dance the night away. The manga
How do you do that as a 13-year-old? I'm just thinking about being a 13-year-old and in an act of pretending to be strong, tossing it out the window, and then forcing a smile and dancing. Like, even now, I would just be like, I need to just go be. Something like that.
also makes a point to show us that Sebastian is playing with
Which I think would probably go to show how everything Ciel has just been putting on an act for so long, hiding his emotions for so long, giving the opposite feeling that he just is easy to turn a switch at this point.
the violin providing the music for the dance party, which, our talented king, what can he not do? After
So
the
true.
party, we see a short scene where Sebastian is
Although, to be fair, if you can't dance and you can't play the violin, then what kind of a butler would he be?
getting Ciel ready for bed. He mentions that Ciel seemed to have a good time, but Ciel is the kind of person who does not allow himself to feel joy. So he calls Sebastian a fool, only for Sebastian to pull an Uno reverse, saying that
No, you are the idiot. Got him! Slams the door.
Ciel was in fact the fool for pretending the ring wasn't important. Sebastian then gives Ciel the ring back, and it's magically fixed?
Yeah, it was magically fixed. I mean, you're led to believe that he just is really good at fixing things. Wait, no, he uses magic. He has magic. Magic is a thing that he has.
Yeah, we kind of glossed over that. Sebastian must
I was gonna say, we just completely glossed over.
have magic demon powers that lets him do whatever he needs, or
Yeah, and then there's the whole, Book of Atlantic segment where they learn where Sebastian has to learn how to actually cook good, and not use demon powers.
or wants. Main character energy. Ciel then talks about how the ring has been there for the death of every Phantom Hive head before him, and then states that the ring will see his death.
I know it's not, but that's a little bit suggestive. That is a face that is made. Not. That's just a face right there. That certainly is a face.
As well. This is paired with Sebastian taking off Ciel's eye patch, but we don't get a glimpse of the hidden eye here. But I think the dialogue matching up with that action is a bit of foreshadowing, all things considered.
I'd
Ciel
say, you know what? Probably.
then mentions
Just I got a little feeling. Epic foreshadowing.
that the ring has heard the last agonies of all who have worn it, and talks about how he can hear their screams when he closes his eyes.
I can hear their screams. I can hear them.
Honestly, when I first watched the anime back in the day, and we got to
Back in the day. Yeah. So you did not. You read it and then you watched and then read. Yeah, tired.
this scene, I thought they were trying to tell me that the ring was legitimately haunted.
Yeah, that's
And
what I thought too. I thought that the ring was like was going to be the center point of the whole show, and that it was some sort of like possessed thing that needed to be cleansed, or that's what the ancient organization was after, or not the ancient organization, but the Illuminati, whatever. Order, is it Order of the Phoenix? Not Order of the Phoenix. Phoenix. I don't remember. But the organization, that's what I thought they were after, was the ring or whatever. It was a weird thing, and then nothing happened.
that not only did we have demon butlers, but we also had ghosts trapped in the ring, and they were like legit haunting and screaming
Oh yeah.
at this.
Oh man, it's been so long since I've seen season 1. Honestly, I've seen season 2 more recently than season 1, and that wasn't just because I saw 1 then 2. It's because I saw 1, I saw 2, then I saw 1 again, then I saw 2 again, and then I watched 2 for a third time to see if it was really as bad as I remembered it being. Season 2 was not as bad as I remember it being, because Eloise is not in it for over half of the show.
Child? Yeah, I don't think that anymore. Now I think the only thing that haunts Ciel is knowledge. Knowledge of how those who came before him have passed, and knowledge of what his demise will be. Cough cough, hint hint, the demon at his side.
It is kind of ironic The person keeping you alive is really the one who's gonna end up killing you. So sad. Alexa, play Despacito.
But we don't know that at the time of this scene. Ciel then states that he threw the ring out thinking
Yeah, that the whole line about the about hearing their screams is a bit overly dramatic and emo. This metal is heck, man.
that he'd stop hearing the screams. He then asks Sebastian to stay until he falls asleep, revealing a kid who's got a lot of fear swimming inside of him. Sebastian then states he'll be with Ciel until the very end. More foreshadowing at this point, and honestly, it kind of reinforces the foreshadowing that we just saw prior, where
The foreshadowing foreshadows the foreshadowing. This is some real good stuff.
Ciel is aware of what his death is going to be. It's in the forefront of his mind, and it's probably related to Sebastian. And keep in mind, when you're reading chapter 2 for the first time, especially when the manga was initially coming out way back in 2006, readers weren't aware of where things were going, and we don't know that Sebastian's a demon. At least I don't think. I don't know if G Fantasy readers back in the day got a little bit of a synopsis before we got chapter 1. Everything that I say in this video is based on the assumption that when you first read the manga, you're going in blind. Or that the G Fantasy readers back in 2006 essentially went in blind. Ciel.
Good assumption to make. Good assumption. Yeah, so far it's like the whole build up to being like there's something up with this guy, and then the payoff is gonna be like it all makes sense. Let me reread that to really pick up on all of the little nuances. That would have been a really fun way to have actually watched the show. Ah, that would have been so good. But him being a demon from the beginning is also like I did not have a bad experience. I don't think I had a worse experience. And if I would have had a worse experience by having watched it first, it's negligible. That being said, reading it, kids.
Was drowning in fears, insecurities, and the weight of his burdens, be it responsibility or the feelings of being doomed. It's a complete overhaul of the bratty and conniving kid we saw in the previous chapter.
It is really interesting, and I wonder if he really is like he's got the trauma that he's always dealing with, and I always thought that whenever he was talking about, you know, his vulnerabilities and stuff like that, it was always about the trauma that he went through. But as an aside to that, it's also the fact that he knows how he's going to die and live the rest of eternity that he's thinking about all the time and is reminded of all the time. Which is an extra layer that I never actually considered, which is so much darker too. It is at least equally as dark.
However, each of those versions of Ciel are the building blocks that his character is put together with, and the blocks that we learn more about as the manga goes on.
Black Butler does a very good job of building characters without also just shoving it at you first. It's very easy to start off a series and be like, hi, I'm hero character, and I'm incredibly humble and timid, and I need to learn how to be myself. And then eventually learns how to be himself, but he's the most selfless person, and everyone loves him because he's putting everyone else before himself, which is something nobody actually does. And the takeaway is that the real heroes are selfless. What a good message and wholesome message. Nothing wrong with that. But it's not to get lost in the weeds. It it's just this instant, like, this is the character, this is the blah. And you have like a whole episode, this is blah, 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 blah. What my favorite part about Sword Art Online is the first episode I love any series that does this. It drops you into the action. I love when it just drops you into the action. That's what Black Butler does, or at least in the manga it does. It just drops you into this world, and then you learn who they are through how they act, as opposed to having an establishing, chapter 3.
On.
I'm just a little bit too dyslexic. The butler, omnipotent and most evil. I thought it was omnipotent most of the time. I can read just fine. My brain just doesn't register that I can read it just fine.
We begin to step away from the standalone chapters as we move into chapters 3 and 4, which tell a slightly bigger story. We start off with the trio of lovable idiots, plus Tanaka, as Bard discovers that they have mice chewing on the wires, causing power outages at the mansion. We get a better look at how Bard thinks, and hints of his background as he talks about fighting off the mice as if he's at war.
That's something that, like, I would have to rewatch to really understand, because I don't remember that. But it's been so long since I've seen season 1. Yeah, it was crazy to hear all of their backstories. Bard being I like the fact that he was a soldier. It's not like, like Finney is this, he was tested on, and Mayrin was a spy, and then Bard was just your average infantryman. He was a sergeant, so he had skill and experience, but I'm glad he wasn't like just some like colonel or general or something like that. And that's kind of what makes me appreciate Bard. I appreciate the characters who aren't like, oh, by the way, I am Twilight.
Each of the trio come up with ways to trap the mice. Bard with a
Good day, or perhaps good evening, Twilight.
strange concoction
I love Spy Family. It's so dumb.
as he talks about
And good.
how the mice mustn't have enough food. Finney decides on using cats to hunt the mice down, and May Ren sets up copious amounts of mice traps. In all honesty, this isn't super important, but it lays the basis of mishaps and also gives us a sort of personality test for the three of them. The way you go about getting rid of mice really says a lot about you as a person.
It sure does. Leave a comment about how you would get rid of mice. Would you poison them? Lead them into a trap? Lead so many traps that there's nothing they could possibly do? Use fire? Or just use a bigger mouse to fight them?
As the three make it a competition to see whose method works the best, we are also introduced to the dark secret.
Yes, I actually really loved that it's not a juxtaposition, but there's a literal mouse and then there's a figurative mouse. I thought that was really cool.
World that CL belongs to. Getting our first look at Madame Red, Lao, and who I
You could, I mean, this literally talks about it, but how you've got, average person problems. Oh no, I have a mouse, and that's, average person's view of a mouse, but then you have, like, how the world works version of a mouse.
believe is Diedrich. Klaus is also there, and so are a couple of other guys. We don't really know who they are just yet, and they're honestly not really important past this initial setup, so...
Yeah, I don't think... None of them show up except for Madame Red, who just so happens to... She's the aunt. She's an aunt, but not related to Lizzie.
Hi there. We get a fun transition from talking about a literal mice infestation to figurative conversation about some kind of problem in the underworld that CL is in charge of exterminating. During this conversation, they're playing a game of pool, which I feel is supposed to be symbolic of how they work and their current standings of the group. Ciel being the one who's really in charge, and being the one who aims for the 9-ball and finishes the game. We see that some in the group are unhappy with Ciel's upper hand and way of handling business. We can infer that
I do think that having the pool game is probably the best way to do it, because chess has been used so much, and chess is also one-on-one. You can't really, I mean, that's the same with pool, but chess is just so overly used and cheesy. But pool, billiards, is definitely the scoundrels game, or the bar game, your dirty hands game. And poker would be also kind of, it would be weird, because chess is something that you really learn how to strategize. Pool, anyone can learn how to play. It's very simple, but it's not easy. Especially, it is your ability to aim and hit strong, not too hard, not too soft, hit just right, versus the other person's ability to aim. So it is a lot like a figurative draw, a cowboy shootout. YouTube, do not take me down for making gun noises, please. So I think that really it was just like, all right, what game is not chess that makes sense?
Ciel operates in a way that benefits him, and to hell with everyone else. After this, we see Sebastian catch a couple of mice, which is cool. It doesn't appear that the other servants have been successful in their efforts.
I like the part where all the servants fall for their own traps. I think it was also a good metaphor for how your plans can also backfire on you, and how that happens in the first season as well. But season 1 has a very good comparison to chess. Like, you can see where it was like Lizzie was taken and used against him, and it if you look for it, there's really good metaphors to chess in season 1.
But honestly, it doesn't really matter, because we then see Ciel get kidnapped straight out of his home.
This was one of the greatest. I mean, not him being kidnapped, but Sebastian like really going full demon on the gangsters was the best part of the show, until the Baskerville Hounds? Did they actually call them that? The Hounds. I'll just say that. That one was really good because of how it showed that Black Butler was really going to be a bit twisted. It wasn't going to be just like a little bit darker than you were used to. It was actually going to be like, ooh, I'm uncomfortable now.
Wow. I hope that's never happened to him before. Honestly, it's fine though.
I hope he's never been kidnapped before. That would be really traumatizing if he did. Man.
Because when Sebastian brings Ciel his afternoon tea, he discovers that something is amiss, and is more concerned about the tea going to waste, which...
Based Bazzy.
Honestly, sure. Modern society is very wasteful, and the rich even more so. So I get it. I get it.
How about you spend the last 17 minutes talking about how the... I'm joking.
Don't do that. An explanation as to why Ciel has found himself in this position. The Phantomai family serves as the Queen's watchdog, meaning that they get their hands dirty involving themselves in the corrupt happenings of the underworld, and taking out those that go against the Queen. This has put him in direct conflict with one Azuro Vano, one of the men present at the meeting earlier in the chapter. which is what presumably gave him
What a dick!
an in to the Phantom Hive Manor so that he could, kidnap CL. Azzurro is an Italian mobster struggling to deal drugs in England. Due to CL
He can't deal drugs. This is so sad. Dude. It's not that hard anymore, man. It's okay. It's okay. Would CL really, but I feel like CL wouldn't be the one who's in charge of taking care of drug dealings. At least in the show, like that's he has much bigger fish to fry. Well, I suppose if the drugs are like a giant scandal as opposed to just one, I mean, it's always a giant scandal somewhere as long as you go far enough. But still, it seems like he just has bigger fish to fry. You know what I mean?
CL's interference and role in keeping the substances market under control. Whatever that means, I'm a little confused on if it's like a no drugs allowed here or if it's a only certain drugs in a certain amount. I'm not really sure because
The definition of what drugs were allowed has changed. The powdery white stuff, totally allowed. But some stuff,
Lao is selling opium this whole time and no one gives a shit. And I'm just very
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like opium, very illegal. Definitely illegal. But then again, Lao is giving Lao is trading. It's not like they don't care. It's that Lao just gives such good information that he is being allowed to not get arrested.
very confused on why one is fine and the other isn't. But maybe they're just trying to keep the market from being oversaturated, which could also be
Maybe they're all just in the pocket of Lao, and Lao's the real mastermind, and he's trying to get rid of all the competition.
a problem. Either way, I don't think that's really important to the plot of Black Butler, so we never really. I guess I'm supposed to infer something, but I'm stuck. It's a me problem. We then learned that
I think that I think that Lao is just being given a break because he's a snitch and has actual good intel. But also, I just feel like at this point, Yana Tabosa hadn't decided to give CL bigger jobs, so he was like, I'm gonna take down more realistic things that the Queen would want taken down, as opposed to like these like crazy supernatural things. Especially when you're introducing these characters and you don't know that Sebastian is a demon yet. Also, it wouldn't really make sense because nobody, even when we find out that he is, nobody else knows. The Queen isn't supposed to know, and I don't know if she doesn't know or if she doesn't care and she does know. Anyway,
the Phantom Hive servants are in danger due to this mobster and his men. However, CL doesn't seem concerned, which, given the characterization thus far, is a bit strange. But
yeah, because you were just talking about how at this point, and I don't remember if this was the same order in the show, but yeah, CL just got done talking about how he was really irked about the ring being destroyed and how he hears the voices from the ghostly ring.
But we finally get to learn just why those silly little guys are kept around since they're so bad at their day jobs. Okay, I lied. I wrote that sentence before I finished reading this couple of chapters.
Did you just lie to me? Don't tell me. Don't tell me you lied to me.
I forgot we don't actually get to see them in action.
Yeah, we don't get to see them in action until the angel thing, which I don't think actually. I think that was an adaptation choice. I don't think that actually happened. I could be wrong. That's why we're using this as our lore guide.
We do, however,
What? Please, you have me on the edge of my seat.
get to see Sebastian
Edge of my seat.
in action.
There we go.
Sebastian handles everything, while the rest of the servants try and figure out if Sebastian meant they could eat the,
That was a good. I forgot about that. Yeah. Like, that when he said take care of it, does it mean that we can eat it? Or does that mean save it for later? Because we will die with one. But I really want the pie. Good.
potentially wasted food. Honestly, mood. Sebastian should have been more clear in his directions. All he said was just to take care of it. That could mean anything.
That could mean anything to my fat.
And also, what are they meant to do with it? How are they supposed to eat it when Sebastian takes all of the forks and knives to use as weapons because he's quirky like that?
He's just a quirked up white boy goated with the sauce.
The rest of Chapter 3 and a good chunk of Chapter 4 puts Sebastian's abilities and true nature on blast. We see this man become an absolute menace of super speed, death defiance, and amazing dexterity. It's honestly kind of funny how this whole kidnapping
That music is gonna get me copyright. It's gonna get copyright.
fiasco is flipped from Azuro
I know because I've tried to use it before.
trying to manipulate and exploit CL, to CL and Sebastian playing a very sadistic game with Azuro and his men, even down to CL referring to it as a game of fetch that
I do remember that, and it's a play on the whole guard dog thing. I don't remember them playing a game on him though. I just kind of remember CL just waiting for Sebastian to show up.
Azuro's men failed at. Also, obsessed with the seeming safe word being on theme here. I mean, why are you barking, CL? What is going on?
Dude, why are you barking? What's up with you? You a little weird. That's a little strange.
Very on theme. Sebastian is also comically committed to the bit.
Yes. It's good playing the bit and then just completely not it's good. The irony. Dramatic irony.
Going as far as using kitchenware as weapons and being more concerned with keeping on schedule than he is for his life or CL's. And let's
just being committed to the bit and the part. It's great. It is one of many things that I love about
keep in
Sebastian.
mind, at
And CL too.
this point, we still have no clue what Sebastian's deal is.
But the climax is coming. It is about to be shown.
Only the fact that he's some kind of superhuman or supernatural being who's just, like, really into being a butler. It's
Yeah, I feel like if I was watching this or reading this for the first time, it'd be like I would have guessed anime-isms at this point. I would have guessed, like, all right, he's moving fast because everybody moves fast here, It's like, all right, suspend disbelief, what? He can outrun bullets, whatever. Like, I don't think I would have taken it seriously.
It's not until Sebastian rises from the dead and is given a job offer that we get the sickest humble brag of all time.
Yes, it is a great line.
He's simply a devil. of a butler. Man's just
One Hell of a Butler is better. I'll be honest. I think it's better. Simply One Hell of a Butler is better than I'm a Devil of a Butler. It's a little bit more cheeky, you know? Devil of a Butler is like, all right, that's on the nose. One Hell of a Butler is like, it's on the nose, but it's more, it's a little, you know, it's less like slapping you in the face.
a butler.
Instead, like, I'm a Devil of a Butler is just like, One Hell of a Butler is just like, tickle your chin, your whiskers. I have absolutely no idea what these are supposed to be. I don't know. I'm going crazy.
The anime dub rephrases this line as one hell of a butler, which honestly is more iconic and flows a little bit better.
It does.
But I do love the little like, yeah, I'm just a devil of a butler. I'm just a
I'm just a quirked up white boy. Ooh, he a devil.
really good
I
butler.
don't know the rest of that song. Somebody made an AMV with Grell to that song and then added me because one of the lyrics, inserted lyrics, was Grell Slutcliffe. Because that's fair. Grell Slutcliffe. Sure.
Obsessed with it. Anyway, I think everyone else is, which is why simply one hell of a butler is like the most iconic quote from this entire series. I mean, it does come up a few times, and it is a very catchy quote, but it's like, it is the Black Butler quote. Either way.
It is. Well, there's one hell of a butler, and then there's what kind of a butler would I be?
Way, it's the reveal that this perfect superhuman man is in fact a demon parading around as a butler that I think initially
Them's are some evil eyes, honestly. Those were
hooks people in. And honestly, the whole gimmick of the series, I'm not sure if readers of G Fantasy back in the day knew the synopsis or had an idea of what they were getting into until this moment. But even if you did know, it's still a pretty sick moment.
It is really great. Even in the show where you knew, it was still awesome.
Want to say that during the moments where Azuro thought Sebastian was dead, he mentions that Ciel is too pretty to dismember and thinks out loud about selling Ciel to a pervert. And honestly, I'm not sure if this is foreshadowing to Ciel's backstory or a look into how cruel this underworld he is a part of is.
Yeah, it's definitely look into the kind of world that, like, the life that he leads as, like, his actual job for the queen, but also the question is, which life is worse? The one where he is selling his soul to the devil, or the world that he would work in anyway? It's one of those just like only bad things. is a bad situation no matter what, especially for a 13-year-old.
Honestly, both could be true, but it's like weird considering that it becomes a plot point in the next main story arc of this series. Like, Ciel gets kidnapped multiple times. It's like a thing for him. And I don't know if that's like all foreshadowing of what he's been through or if it's just like a coincidence, but I'm gonna say it's foreshadowing because that's the smart analytical thing to say.
The foreshadowing, I think there is a bit of foreshadowing, but I also think that that's just the tactic, is that if you're going to get into, behind enemy lines, the best way to get there is to let you in. And the way that you do that in this world is by being kidnapped so that you can be sold to a pervert with a lot of money. Anyway, smash like.
It's just a reoccurring theme before we actually get to know Ciel's backstory, so it makes sense that it's foreshadowing. This is also the point in which Ciel is done entertaining the game and calls for Sebastian to get up, which I'm choosing to interpret as Ciel becoming uncomfortable and changing the subject. We also get a glimpse into the
I think that CL has just got bored with the game. He's been shown. I hope whoever is out there is safe getting that alarm. CL has been shown to have done this multiple times, which is end the game when he gets bored, which is a childish thing to do. But also he has the power to do that. And yeah, he was uncomfortable for sure, but also I think that he's like, all right, this guy officially earned the death that he gets.
true nature of Sebastian and Ciel's dynamic. A contractual relationship between a demon and a vulnerable victim. One of poking fun and a bit of malicious teasing between the two, showing us that while Ciel may be the master, Sebastian holds the power in this dynamic as well. They then go home. That's it. The biggest takeaway and issue from this is that Sebastian has been unable to prepare dinner. All that tension that
yeah, in the show he's like, I'm so sorry that this happened, my lord. And then you're like, oh, he's just going to apologize that he got caught. Dinner's going to be a little late this evening.
that's been built up is just immediately washed away by a comedic bit that is the backbone of early Black Butler humor. Sebastian's merely just a butler, trying to keep things in order on the day-to-day, and sometimes that includes rescuing his master from a kidnapping and, killing a ton of people in the process, but who cares? He's just a butler, and dinner's not done, so,
Yeah, he has one job and he failed. Which isn't true. Later, so, it's a little bit sad. I wish that humor stayed a bit more, because even later on in the first season, Sebastian talks about how his main priority is keeping him alive, and obviously the contract is more important than the fulfilling the duties of a butler. But it ends up being much more. Sebastian ends up just more often. What am I trying to say? So Sebastian more often is telling CL, no, I'm not going to do this because my number one priority is keeping you alive, blah, 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 which is an important thing to know about. But then that ends up happening a whole lot more often than being like, oh, I'm so sorry, my lord. I didn't prepare the tea.
He's got to figure that out.
But I think that's just me not really enjoying the public school arc as much as I thought I would, because the circus arc, obviously he's away, and public school, again, they're away undercover, so there hasn't been a whole lot of being back at the manor. So I'm sure that dynamic will come back as soon as the Sebastian gets to be a butler.
What will he ever do? It's fine. He's fine. They'll be
React to Tom's Diner cover.
fine.
I have no idea
I'm
what
sure
that
they
is.
cook something up real quick. It's honestly not a big deal. Our last chapter in this introduction arc is another standalone story that serves as a breather between the action of the
I will do that after this. I think I'll do that after this. I'll have to look it up, unless I'm being lied. I'll have to look at that. I don't even kind of know what that is.
previous two chapters and the first cohesive story arc of Black Butler that will be coming in the next chapter. Yeah, anyway, Chapter 5 brings us back down to the day-to-day happenings of Sebastian's life in the Phantom Hive Manor. Everything from getting ready in the morning to assigning the others their tasks to getting Ciel up and ready for the day. We also get a formal introduction to Ciel as head of Phantom Hive and the owner of a quickly successful toy and confectionery company, Funtum, all at the age of 12 at that. We then follow Sebastian.
I thought Funtum was the on the books front cover, basically cover story for the Phantom Hive household for generations. The Funtum, I thought that's just what it was. I didn't know CL started that.
As he prepares for a charity visit. They're having orphans come to the manor, which is a bit ironic since Ciel is now an orphan himself. However, Sebastian is only given 24 hours notice, if that, of the visit, and you can imagine how a normal human butler would.
Mom, I have to make a project for school. It's like, yeah, when does it have to be done? Tomorrow morning? Like, honey, it's 9 p.m. Like, yeah, I wanted to make drums out of like coffee cans and stuff. Like, we don't want to have that.
Would have
I wonder if CL did that on purpose. CL would do that.
Very difficult time getting everything prepared on such a short notice. However, Sebastian handles it like a champ. We get a bit of insight into how he feels about CL, which is annoyed.
Strike through? Is that a... I wouldn't know how to read that. This is just how Sebastian thinks this... Nope. Young master.
CL is a brat. I can't argue with that. I can't defend that. That's
No,
just
it's true.
a true fact about him.
Truer statements have never been
As
said.
a character. And we could get into why he's a brat all day long, but
You should do a separate video going over how bratty he is. Just a 2-hour-long video.
But bottom line, Sebastian is very annoyed with him. Sebastian also feels that Ciel acts as if anything is possible if Sebastian is around. He mentions that Ciel works his people too hard, however, it seems that only extends to Sebastian. We spend the rest of the chapter watching Sebastian flawlessly handle.
I'm not saying that you treat me wrong and treat me too harshly. I'm just saying that you treat everyone named Sebastian Michaelis too hardly. However many people that may be.
His duties juxtaposed with Mayrin, Bard, and Finny screwing up in over-the-top comedic ways, and then running to Sebastian for help solving their new problems, which he manages to do just as flawlessly as he does everything else, even keeping his complaints and dislikes of the other servants to himself, which is truly the real test of his abilities. I do love
Not saying something about your coworker to their face. Don't we all go through that struggle?
the creative ways that the servants interrupt Sebastian's day, however. My favorite is when Bard causes an explosion in the kitchen, and Sebastian's thought box is caught in the explosion, shattering off
It's so creative.
into pieces, which is really cool. I love when comics and manga play around with the text bubbles and like the speech bubbles and all that, or just like
They almost become part of the story. They almost become a character themselves. That's actually super awesome when that happens.
they're playing with the medium that they're using, and I think that's really fun, and that is so cool. It's through the stress of these mishaps that we get the fun character lore that Sebastian is down with emotional support animals, specifically
I'm down. Sebastian is absolutely down with emotional support animals as long as they are cats and cats only.
cats, which becomes a reoccurring gag that pops up every once in a while. This is also
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's required in every single iteration of Black Butler, but it's a good little thing. The Black Butler live action. I I don't remember if that really did the whole cutie, cutie, gimme. I think that there was just one scene where he was just standing outside with a cat, just holding a cat.
So when we get the fun reference that pets in the demon realm are just creatures from the Alien movie, I'm aware that this is a reference.
Ridley Scott gonna sue somebody.
However, I'm not super familiar with the thing it is referencing, so we won't spend too much time talking about it. I will add that I've never seen anyone read too much into that, so it was probably just a fun little reference that Yana put in, mostly for herself, possibly.
Probably. Alien is so iconic, but it's iconic for being 80s action. I haven't really seen much Alien, though, if I'm being honest.
Something that she liked, so I don't think it's important. The chapter finishes up with Sebastian's magnificent artwork in chocolate sculpting.
Is that a headless horseman for orphans to look at? Because if so, that's pretty poggers.
And the reveal that Ciel really is, for lack of a better phrase, that little shit, when we find out that the head of the sculpture is missing and Sebastian finds it partially eaten.
This is where we find out that CL is that little shit. Man, if you didn't have legal issues, obviously selling, Black Butler IP, someone else's IP, I would love that T-shirt. It reminds you of your brother, John 730. I don't know who that is. It reminds you of your brother. That's interesting.
On Ciel's desk, chocolate on his face, marking him clearly as the culprit. And that's chapter 5, a sweet little story to kind of ease you in. I mean, it's chapter 5, so I don't know what kind of easing in you're gonna need, but I do want to talk about how these 5 chapters were put into volumes of the manga. Volume 1 contains the first 4 chapters, introducing us to the characters and their world, and ending on the note that Sebastian is a demon, who's a butler. It's a cool hook to end your first volume on, and that draws readers into wanting to know more.
Okay, that was going to be one question that I had, was I didn't know the difference between a chapter and a volume, because I was pretty sure that volumes had multiple chapters. But I've not really even opened a manga before.
Thus encouraging them to buy the next volume. Volume 2 starts off with chapter 5, serving as a re-establishment to the status quo around the Phantom Hive Manor, and honestly, it's a cute, low-stakes, standalone story to give the narrative breathing room before hopping into the action once more. We get a refresh.
Which is what I loved about the show, is especially with season 1, was the around the manor type stuff, and not just constant in the thick of it. I love that, and I understand that the public school arc, and obviously you're stuck on a boat for the Book of Atlantic, and the Book of Circus, you're undercover. I get that. Totally separate. I just hope that the Emerald Witch has more, because I'd love to see that. I want to see more of that.
Pressure on what the servants are like, with added insight to how Sebastian feels as he goes about his day, and before we, the reader, move on to the next arc in the series. It is not a Black Butler deep dive without mentioning the fact that there are a few historical inaccuracies throughout the series. These early chapters
let's go.
are the most
Historical inaccuracies.
notable with the inaccuracies, however, given the fact that it takes place in the late 1880s, but Ciel and Finney watch TV shows and their cell phones.
What? No. What? What? That is some 4 kid stuff right there.
And one may consider that the use of electricity and electrical wires is also a problem spot as well, but I looked it up, and electricity began to be used in homes in the late 1800s, towards the end of the Victorian era, so that tidbit does check out, I think.
Especially since the entire manor was rebuilt. Makes sense.
Aside from the historical inaccuracies, though, these first 5 chapters set up a lot of characterization that we spend the rest of the manga expanding upon, and for a long time, these initial chapters served as the main source of characterization for the servants. Which is wild considering how prominent they are throughout the series. I also find it really interesting how Sebastian
They were for the first bit. I don't know when they stop being super prominent, but they did eventually take a backseat, which was really sad.
is framed as the main character. We know from the end of the volume tidbits that Black Butler started with the idea of a butler who was the hero of the story, which evolved into a demon butler because a butler hero didn't make a whole lot of sense without a gimmick. So from the get-go, Sebastian was the driving force of Black Butler's existence. I find this particularly interesting because over time, the manga shifts from Sebastian being the sole main character to him sharing that role with Ciel, and I would even argue that due to the nature of their characters and the story.
Yeah, I kind of thought that the show, called Black Butler, that the titular character was going to be the main character all along. But I think that CL being the main character is kind of fun. Although the most important thing is both of them. I think the sweet spot is both of them sharing the limelight, because I just Sebastian carries the show so much, the series, that having both of them equally share it, I feel like it's really important. And I think that that's kind of where where I loved Book of Circus, and then Book of Public School Arc was kind of, it was just all CL, which isn't a bad thing. But it just was really missing the Black Butler.
Story arcs and what the story is covering, Ciel, in my opinion, becomes the sole main character later on in the manga. But that's a discussion for another day when we get to those story arcs. I've already spent far too long discussing.
It was a great video. This was an amazing video. Go support our Pocket Leaves right now. Do it. You have to. Yeah, this was a good start into the show, or to the series, and I knew most of that. Knew most of it, believe it or not, because it was actually in the anime.
5 chapters of a manga that is nearing chapter 200 at the time of writing this, so I'll pause our discussion here. And to be honest, there's not much else that I can say about the setup here.
How many chapters are there now? $212, which is, that says 13. Says XVII. Chapter, or sorry, that'd be 18. They're on a train. That's so cool. I'm not going to read that because I'm about to get lore dive.
I hope you all have enjoyed the start of our Black Butler deep dives.
I certainly
will
have,
see you all
and I'll be
in
here
the
for
next
more.
one, where we'll be talking about the Red Butler arc, colloquially known as the Jack the Ripper arc.
Yes, the Red Butler known as Grell. Grell's gonna show Grell's such a I love Grell so much. Everybody, if you liked this, give me a good old thumbs up, a good old smackaroony in the like department. And if we get 20 likes, we will go on to the next one. 20 likes, we will do the Red Butler arc. This and that one's a lot longer, gets more into it. This was this is how it begins. It's very interesting to see. I knew a whole lot of it, but I'm gonna be learning a whole lot about what is actually accurate and what the anime did to be non-canonical. So, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.